Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Shop 81. We are plugging away on the Nova. So as you can see, maybe in the background there, we've got I forget what side this is, the other side that I haven't painted yet. These control arms in primer. We're going to paint those up. Last time, we went ahead and we threw the subframe on. We got some stuff, ooh, ugly. We got some stuff hanging on there just to kind of make it look like a car. And at some point, once it's back on the ground, I am going to hang a fender on it and kind of put one side all together, headlight and whatnot, just so that when you look at it from like right here, it'll look like a car. But for now, it's just, I don't know, it does something for me. We also hung the rear end last time, and it's just sitting there because I couldn't get U-bolts. Well, we have U-bolts now. We ended up, I went back and forth. I was going to get stock ones, and nothing local in me had any, so we had to order some. We ended up getting these from Speedway. And I can get stock ones from, I think Classic Industry had them a few other places. I think the stock ones were 7/16. These are extra long, though, but they're freaking half-inch. So I had to drill out my perches, which this one was cracked in a couple places, so I welded it back together. This is not permanent. This is just going to be for mock-up. I'm probably going to get new ones when we go monoleaf, and I'm also going to probably do something different with the shock location. So just for mock-up, it'll work for now, but I had to drill these damn things out, which also means I had to drill out the perches on the rear end. But we've got these. Old kit's buried in here somewhere. So I'm gonna zap those real quick into the car because I've already done all the drilling. And I got the wheels outside somewhere. It's raining out. Wheels outside, bring them in, and we'll be able to put the wheels back on it and drop it back down and see what the height looks like. And then from there, even though there's no front suspension, we can at least jack the front end up, take it off of the jack stands and kind of drop it down and get a clue what our stance will look like if it's nose down just a little bit. And then obviously I won't know anything until the full front suspension is together, but it'll be nice to kind of get an idea. I'd like to have it nose down just a little bit, but sitting lower than it was with kind of that same rake. So rear end, our new U-bolts in, and we'll put wheels on and put it on the ground, at least the rear end, for the first time in a long time. All right, it's been months since we've had wheels on this thing, but driver's side's on, and let's get the passenger side put on here. There she is. The U-bolts fit well after cutting, open up the holes a little bit. So we went from 7/16, I think it was, to 1/2 inch, so not a big deal. The one thing I will say is these are about 1.5 inches longer than standard, and they are fine thread. These ones are anyway. I don't know if the factories were or not because I cut them. I recommend, if you're doing mock-up, just use regular nuts. Don't use self-locking nuts. And if you're using self-locking nuts, have a battery-powered ratchet or an air ratchet or something handy, because the air ratchet that I had out shit the bed on me after about 30 seconds on the other side. So I had to dig out my other one that I didn't know where it was. Finally found it, made this side way easier, but the other side took me so long to get those nuts run down. Part of it's my fault. I had this thing really close to the ground. It was hard to handle. I didn't adjust it. I could have made it easier on myself, and I didn't. But just something to think about. Fine thread nuts suck. All right. Let's get this thing back down on the ground, see what it looks like. We have not had this thing on the ground in any capacity in so long. I'm down slow. Sorry about the noise. I'm going to bring the jack around over here. Well, it's definitely sitting lower in the back than it was. We've only got 14-inch wheels on there, and I'm not going to run with those as a final product, but certainly lower than it was. Let's jack the front up. Lower these jack stands a little bit and just get an idea of what it's going to look like. All right, we're just playing with it. I can't tell what we're doing here. It's going to need a little bit more than that. I think that'll about do it right there. Go a little lower than we really need to. Again, this is just for fun. That's a little crazy, but all right, let's do a walk around, huh? All right, so it's not perfect. Obviously, there's no fender that would really complete the look. Well, we're going to do that at some point, but it just gives me an idea, and I'm sharing it with you guys, what the final stance-ish could be. I'd say we're closer to level than we are nose down. No, we're a little nose down. Not a lot, but a little bit. I think as we add more weight to the front, it's got no fenders, no hood, no bumper, and obviously no motor transmission. That'll bring it down a lot from where it is, but I'm hoping that that's about where we're going to end up. And if we don't end up there, that's about where I want to be. And as we add weight to it, it'll come down from there. We'll see about the rear. I may still put a some kind of lowering block in here. We're not quite flush. I'd like to have it up in there a little bit. And obviously these are 14s we're going to go with. Probably 15s. I don't know the width yet that I'm going to use, but definitely bigger. So we'll see how that looks before we make a final decision way, way, way down the road. Obviously, quarter panel is going to come off and all this, but it's really neat to see what it could be. Kind of gives you an idea, and for my money, it gives me a lot of motivation, and it just kind of reminds me like what it is that we're building, what it is that we're working towards. Because this is a long time. We've had this car now for a year and a half. And there's guys that bang these things out in a few weeks. There's guys that own these things for, 8, 10 years before they're up and running again. So one way or another, whether you're banging them out quickly or you're playing a long game and you're taking your time, or you just don't have the time and it takes that long, giving yourself an idea of what you're doing and kind of what you're building towards, I think is a great motivator. So this was good for me. I'm going to do more as we go along. So I'm going to clean up a little bit, get some of this stuff out of the way from this mess that I've made, and we're going to get ready to rebuild some control arms. These ones got their first coat of paint. These are the driver sides. I believe the passenger sides are packed away, so I got to flip these over, give another coat, and we will come back when we've got some bushings, popping them in there, and get one step closer to setting this thing on the ground for real, not for fake. Clean up, we'll be right back. All right, so I won't lie to you guys. I got a little frustrated. We went ahead and pressed the upper bushings in, and this was a replacement shaft kit, so it's got these 5/8. Actually, these are 5/8, whatever fine thread is, nuts instead of the little bolts on that side. But those are all pressed in, came out good. And I'm just going to throw the ball joint in on this side. I was going to do one side completely, upper and lower, and then film the other. I started to do the lowers on this side, I think it was. I don't even know which one I had in my hand. And totally goosed the bushing, because those are just like you hammer them in only. Again, like a lot of things I do, very caveman. I have a press, but I'll show you when I get the new ones. I had to order new ones because no one locally had any. So when they get here, I'll talk about it a little bit more. But if you're not careful, you'll basically fold the ears of the lower control arm in on themselves, and they'll be useless. So I had to be careful and with the press. And while I was hammering it, I ended up just destroying the ball joint. So I don't know. Maybe they misaligned. Maybe it was just a shitty product. Maybe it was me. I'm not sure. But we got new ones coming. We're going to try again. We'll go into that in a minute. I did press one of the lower ball joints in. That went just fine. So these guys here, this side had a factory ball joint that was riveted. Obviously, we got rid of the rivets, and the replacements are all nut and bolt. Which you can actually open this up. So they're nut and bolt. I'm going to take the boot off. It's just sitting there. We'll put some grease in that later before we put it on for good. Now, those threads don't feel terrific. Hopefully that's grease and not metal in there. Whatever. So it's a two-piece deal where you've this basically sits in the top, goes in through here. This comes in the bottom underside with the boot. The bolts go through from the top, and you sandwich it all together, seal it up, and then the boot presses up on your, the spindle presses it up on the ball joint, makes the seal, and you're good to go. These ones are nice. I think a lot of the aftermarket ones do. These ones have a grease port on them. So do my new lowers. So that's kind of sweet. But these holes are not big enough for the bolts that come with it. So we're just drilling them out a little bit. I had to touch the other side up just a little bit. So this tape doesn't do a whole lot other than make me feel better. But just be careful, go slow. So just don't be impatient. Take your time. You don't want to screw this up. Then do the finger test, and if I cut myself, then there's burrs. Oh, I think we're good. So, does the tape help? I don't know. Makes me feel better. Just put some tape over the holes and drill through the tape. You can see your holes that you're just trying to center up. Not too big of a deal. So yeah, I ordered new ball. Oh, so I had to order 2 new sets of ball joints because I went and bought ball joints local because my local store didn't have them in stock, but another sister store in the state did. So ship store to store is free. So I paid a little bit more for the product, but without the shipping, it actually came out to be cheaper than ordering online. Get home, and I'm looking through everything. Like, everything's right, and I absolutely screwed up the first set of lower ball bushings. Went and opened the other box, the second box, which same part number, but the box looked different. It was, it was a generic store box, but same part number, so didn't think much of it. Opened it up, opened the bag up, and I'm looking at them like, these look different. Turns out they were poly and not rubber, and that's all fine and good. There's nothing wrong with poly bushings, but everything else I have is just OEM style rubber, and I wanted to stick with that. That was kind of annoying. I'm not quite sure how that happened, if that was a mistake somewhere or if somebody bought them and then returned them with the wrong stuff in there, but that's cool. I already returned them, otherwise I have something to show you, but as my luck would have it, they had, at that same store here in the state, they had one more set of bushings in stock, and since I need to replace the one that was wrong and I screwed one up, I need 2. So that was no good, so I figured instead of screwing around and getting 2 sets in 2 different places, I would just say thanks but no thanks and order some new ones. So they'll be here, today's Thursday, either Friday or if they're not here tomorrow, they'll probably be here Monday. I'm getting confused. I have other stuff on order too. My springs will be here, I think, tomorrow, which means that as soon as we get those bushings in, do a little wrap up on that, we'll probably start filming, putting this whole front suspension together. And hopefully, although probably not, you're as excited as I am, because we've got all new everything that matters anyway. Disc brakes, drop spindles, all the fun stuff. So watch your ears. All right. So yeah, new bushings will be here in the next day or so. That's all she wrote there. New bushings will be here, and we'll pop in the lowers, fight and yell at those. Press the other ball joint in, and that'll be a wrap until we're actually putting the front suspension back together. All right, so our lower bushings showed up, and I went ahead and just pressed them in because, I mean, what do you either hammer them or using the press, and it's just a noisy caveman mess. But they're in. In fact, this one over here is actually on the car. Not much to see, but it's there. Ball joint is installed, which let's talk about that. So this one is not, because I've got more questions than I do answers now. So this is upside down. The ball joint would obviously go down from this end and be over here. They're supposed to be press fit. So when I put this in, it should stop about right there. You can kind of see there's a lip right here, and then that's the control arm, and then it would stop there, and you would use a press and press in the rest of the way. But, I mean, no trouble at all. And I can wiggle it out. It's a bit of a pain with one hand, but yeah, there you go. It just wiggles right out of there with one hand. No effort. So that can't be correct. And this one's not much different. I did put the press on it, and kind of thought it came out a little too easy. And when I ran into the trouble with the other one, I took a hammer and just, I mean, I wouldn't even say hit it. I a little bit more than tapped it right here, and it popped right out the bottom. So that's not ideal. I know that there'll be spring tension from the other side, kind of pushing this into its home, like down. I mean, it'll be up, but same when it's flipped over, but whatever. The spring tension should push this and keep it in its home, but they're press fit for a reason. They're not just slip fit. They're not just set them in and then set your springs and you're good to go. So I need to do a little bit of research on that. I don't know if this is just a product that's lacking, because they're both doing it, and I find it hard to believe that both of my both the bores here on both control arms is messed up. And I ran into something similar with the bushings. So the bushings I had originally, I bought locally just to save on shipping, and then when those went to hell and I couldn't get new ones, or when one was wrong and I messed up the other one, I ordered, name brand ones off Rock Auto, and these ones went in a lot better. So was it product or was it me? I don't know. Question you got to ask yourself when you run into these problems. But I'm kind of held up right now. I need to do a little bit of research and figure out what to do about those ball joints. The uppers are fine. The uppers are absolutely great. So this side had the original shaft kit. Ball joint, I mean, you can't mess that up. It's a bolt-in. So that's all good. And we have grease for that. Same thing on the other side, except for the aftermarket shaft kit, which was already on it. I got to tighten these nuts down, and this side's good to go. So we'll figure out the ball joints, or the lower ball joints, and we'll go from there. Coming up on the next one, I'm probably going to be putting the front suspension together once I figure out what I'm going to do with my lower ball joints. Coil springs are here. So they're in that box over there. They're not even open. Coil springs are here, and I'm waiting on some spring isolators, and then I inevitably will be waiting on new lower ball joints, I assume. But that's coming next time. Drop spindles, new springs, disc brakes, and probably won't be putting wheels on it because I don't think that 14s that came with this thing will fit on these disc brakes. We'll have to figure that out later, but that's coming next time. Thank you guys for watching, and if you have any comments on my debacle of suspension parts, please let me know. Who's got suggestions for who to go with for this stuff? I mean, Rock Auto sells it all, but I mean, they've got Dorman, Delphi. Everyone's gonna say AC Delco because that's probably what they used originally. They're like 3.5 times the price, and they're often out of stock. So if you've had luck with any other brands, please let me know, and I'll be looking there in the future. Drop a like, make sure you subscribe, follow along, and we will see you on the next one.